The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation. What's going on, good people? How y'all doing out there? Hopefully everybody is doing well. This is the Big Buck Sports Report. I am the man with the master plan himself, E. Bizzle, in the building, ready to talk some sports with y'all. First and foremost, had to send a shout out to my people out there in Kansas City, Missouri. Hearing about the unfortunate incident this afternoon with the Super Bowl parade and the shooting and violence that took place there. Keep in mind, you guys are all in my prayers. For those of you in the Kansas City area that are part of these networks and the broadcast, by all means, please check in and let us know that you are okay and know that you and your family and friends are in our prayers. And hopefully things have not come to bad harm to you or any of those who you know. It's already been reported that one person has died, and I feel very, very upset about the whole thing. It's sad that we cannot enjoy our sports the way they were meant to be, to where the victor goes to spoils, and we just have a good time enjoying the fact that our team won a championship. Now it is tainted with what has happened today, and I just hate that for you guys there in the city known as Kansas City. So again, prayers are out to you guys. In other news, we're going to talk about sports this evening as we do here. Keep in mind, we are doing this now Wednesday, 8:45. Moving forward, the times of not only this show, but all the other shows in the Nighthawk Network may be different due to circumstance. Sometimes life is lifing, and because of that, we are going to kind of change some of the format and how we do things here. We'll explain that a little bit more next week as I kind of map it out a little better. But just know that we will be available and we will try to our best to give you the opportunity to know ahead of time when we are coming on the air and when we are going to be available for you guys to discuss and talk about all the things we talk about here on the network. But in the meanwhile, we are going to talk sports. First and foremost, I'm going to start us off with some in the moment scores here at 8:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, this afternoon, or at least earlier this evening, my UConn Lady Huskies, one of my favorite squads, have demolished the Xavier Musketeers 86-40. This is after the very, very hard game they played on Sunday. And keep in mind, there's been some very, very good games, matchup wise, just period, in terms of the women's college basketball this year. We're going to definitely deep dive into that more so next week with both the men's and the women's college basketball. But just know if you are look for some sports to watch and you look for some good matchups, there's going to be a lot of great matchups that come on in the next few weeks in regards to both the men's and women's game. So be looking out for those. We got Big Joe checking into the building. What's going on, Joe? Thank you for checking in. As always, we appreciate you, my brother. And other news, let's see. We got NBA tonight. Let's see what's going on there in the association thus far. Let's get some live scores for you here. Okay, we got pretty much darn near everybody playing. Keep in mind the All-Star break is coming up. And after I give you these scores, we're actually going to talk about my grades for the first half of the season for the NBA teams. After that, we're going to give you the Guru's football perspective where we talk about Super Bowl and our thoughts on that and give you our grades for the end of the season for the NFL. So we'll do that. All right, so far tonight, we got in the fourth quarter the Hornets beating the Charlotte Hornets beating Atlanta 96-80. No big deal there. We got the Magic 989, the Knicks 74. And shout out to Shaquille O'Neal for having his number retired earlier this week for the Orlando Magic, the first Orlando Magic player to have that done. Should he have been the first? That's probably up for debate, maybe. I mean, when you consider how long he was there, as opposed to some other people like your Dwight Howards and your your Penny Hardaway, Tracy McGrady's of the world. Who knows? But I'm not mad at it. Not for real. Anyway, we got the Heat and the 76ers. 76ers, of course, still without Joel Embiid for the immediate future. That really sucks because he was definitely on one before he got hurt. He was dominating the league for sure. You got the Nets and the Celtics. Celtics just molly-whopping the Nets right now, 82-44. It's probably not even as close as that. And they got 6:21 in the third quarter still. That might get extra ugly. At the half, you got the Bulls and Cavaliers. That's the ESPN game tonight. Not a good one. Bad choice. You got the Pacers and the Raptors. Raptors actually beating the Pacers at the half. I don't think that's going to continue. You got the Grizzlies beating the Rockets 50-33. That's kind of a surprise. You got the Pelicans beating the Wizards 50-34. Not a surprise. You got the Spurs and the Mavericks getting started early. It's 2010 Spurs over Mavericks. I don't see that ending that way. And, of course, the night games tonight, you have the Kings and the Nuggets, and the Lakers and the Jazz. Those are at 9 and 10 p.m. So those are the games we got going right now. Of course, we got a lot of college basketball, both men's and women's going on. Like I said, we're going to give you a better thought process into that next week because I want to kind of deep dive into that more so next week. But I will give you a quick rankings for both the men's and the women's. Right now in the top 10, you got the UConn men Huskies, okay, the national champions. Again, number 1 this week. You got Purdue at number 2. They've been Purdue number 2 for about a good month or so now. You got Houston at number 3, Marquette number 4, Arizona number 5. Very good Arizona squad, by the way. Kansas University at number 6. UNC, one of the Blue Bloods back in the mix at number 7. Got Tennessee number 8. Duke Blue Devils at 9, and Iowa State at 10 for the men. Lot of parity in that top 10. I can't really say with definite that these 10 teams, one of these teams will be the national champion. You would like to think based on past history that that's probably the case, but there is no standout team on the men's side at this point as far as I'm concerned. On the women's side, let's give you a quick top 10 of the rankings there. Top 10 this week, we got the South Carolina women's team at 23-0, the only undefeated team in Division I for men or women right now. You got OSU, as in Ohio State University, at number 2 this week. You got Stanford at number 3, 22-3. You got Iowa, who have moved down to 4 after being number 2 last week. You got Texas number 5. You got North Carolina State 6, Kansas State 7, Colorado. Shout out to the Lady Buffs at number 8. UCLA at number 9, and USC at number 10. And, of course, my Lady UConn is a little further down at number 15, already with 5 losses on the year. This troubled times have definitely come to my Lady Huskies. It was a time where it would take them 3 or 4 years to get 5 losses. How the mighty have fallen due to all their injuries and such. But anyway, like I said, we'll talk about that more next week. Now, let's get into this NBA. As you know, the All-Star break is coming. All-Star weekend is this weekend. It's going to be in Indiana. So in terms of locale, not quite as good as where the Super Bowl was last week, obviously, considering the weather and all that. But good time should probably be had. The activities are the usual ones. Slam dunk contest will probably suck again. I don't know what they need to do in order to either change the format to where it's more interesting or come up with some dough and some extra bragging rights to actually get the real dunkers and the real all-star players in the NBA to actually be a part of the all-star slam dunk contest. They just don't seem to want to do it anymore. 3-point contest, of course, will be instant because we will also get with that the shootout between Steph Curry and Helena Ionescu, which is the WNBA player from New York Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu. There we go. I knew that wasn't sounding right. Anyway, they too will go head up in the 3-point shooting contest. As you know, she won on the WNBA side this year, the All-Star game. Steph has won a couple times on his end. In the NBA, Can't wait to see how that plays out for the both of them. And then, of course, we have the usual futures game and the celebrity game that might be interesting. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll be decent. You know, the All Star game itself, they went back to East and West. That might make it a little better. But all being said, I ain't pressed to watch any of that live. Probably would tape it all and watch it tape delay. It's up to y'all how y'all deal with it. Anyway, NBA action. Like I said, we'll probably stop after tomorrow, I believe. Let me double check that. Yep, after tomorrow, they are on the All-Star break till next Thursday. At the moment, let's talk about these standings in the East and the West. First and foremost, we'll talk about the have-nots. Keep in mind the trade deadline has come and gone. Some people, they did all right. Some people not so much. For those of you who want a better understanding of who did what, please, by all means, check out the sports podcast known as The Guru's Perspective. That would be hosted by my good guy, Hugh Lee. That one right there, he did a show, and he graded all of the NBA teams on their draft. Not the draft, but their trade deadline. He definitely broke it down to where I feel he can do that on his end far better than we'll do here. So please check it on out. For terms of specifics, I'm just going to go into some of the basics right quick, okay? First of all, team with the worst record in the NBA is still my Detroit Pistons. Yes, I even claim my team when they suck, okay? That comment specifically for one person. You know who you are. Good, bad, or otherwise, your team is your team, okay? That being said, they made several trades. Many of them didn't seem to make any sense. According to the higher ups, the goal was to become a better defensive team and build around the core, which truthfully for the Pistons is really equal 2 or 3 people. That would be Oscar Thompson, our first round pick for this year, Jaden Ivey, who really wasn't even playing the first 10, 15 games until they figured out, oh, yeah, maybe we should play this guy. And then, of course, you got Cade Cunningham, who so far has been hurt every year he's played here. And when he's not hurt, he's playing good, but we ain't giving him much to work with. That being said, I think they'll end up with a better record than the team right up over them at the moment, which the Washington Wizards. They are by far the worst team in the NBA right now, no doubt about it. And the crazy part is Kyle Kuzma, you could have got out of there, buddy, according to the trade rumors. They offered you to go elsewhere, and you decided you wanted to stay. And what's looking like going to be the murder capital of the country, because they got other issues going on in Washington, D.C. now. Prayers for them as well. I don't know what it is, but it ain't a friendly environment, and it ain't a good team. Wizards suck. We suck. Actually, we suck too. But no, the Wizards, they suck. Anyway, that's that. Charlotte, you've done yourself no favors in the trade deadline. You basically have tanked for who knows what. But yeah, I don't see y'all doing much better. And Toronto probably just good enough not to be as bad as those guys. That part. Now we get to the 11 teams in the East that actually have a chance to make the playoffs this year. Okay, let's talk about them. You got Brooklyn. Brooklyn made a couple plays in trade deadline. I think they will play better in the second half. I'm not quite sure why it didn't quite gel as well as it seemed to be wanting to gel at the end of last year. I think they'll play well enough to get into the play-in round. I think Atlanta, on the other hand, a team right up over them, they're going to play a little bit worse. I'm really surprised that they did not trade Dejounte Murray or Ice Trae. They are both still in Atlanta at the moment. I don't get it. We see that combination don't seem to really want to work the way we want it to. If not now, then maybe later, but I just don't see that working out. They do make the playoffs, they're not going to get far. Chicago basically in playoff hunt right now because there's more teams that's worse than them. That's pretty much it. They are not deserving. They basically JAT, as I would call it. Just another team. And there's a few of them in the East and a few of them in the West. That is them. Orlando, pretty much same. Just another team. actually not playing quite as well this year as they were last year. The growth just not there. Pretty stagnant. Night to night, they could beat who they play. They could get blew out by who they play. It's just one of those scenarios with them. Miami made a couple trades I found to be interesting. Should make them a little bit better. I definitely like them getting Scary Terry from Charlotte. I think it's enough to get them back to the playoffs. They will not get as far as they did last year. I can't see that at all. All right, we got Indiana. We won't know what Indiana really is until we get Halliburton back from the injury, and he has a few days to kind of reacclimate himself and play with Siakam, and then we see what we got there. They definitely will make the playoffs because they're in the East, but as far will they go, they kind of remind me of what Sacramento Kings were last year. So I think it's a 50-50 that they make the second round. Don't see them getting past that. You got Philly at this point, and basically they are number 5 right now. How much farther they get up there in the East depends on when Joel gets back and how well he is reacclimated into the lineup. I like what Philly has put together. They've made trades that make sense. I really do believe that they will be one of the teams that have something to say when the playoffs get here, assuming that Joel is back and healthy, and especially if he comes back as dominant as he was before he left. New York Knicks, definitely the winners thus far in terms of the upgrades during the season. Definitely like what they got going on. They have been winning quite a bit lately. I do see them improving during the rest of the season. Would not surprise me if they end up being the second or third team in the East. Cleveland, of course, playing very well also this last month or so. Better than last year, but with the Knicks being better as last year, I think they kind of negotiate themselves out. I can see either one of them being second, third, fourth, any of that mix. Milwaukee made the coaching move early on, putting Doc Rivers in charge. I don't think it's made them any better or worse at this point. I think they got just as much chance of winning the NBA title as they did when Adrian Griffin was coach. I don't think it really upgraded them much at all. Trade deadline didn't do a lot. I can see them, it all depends on what we get out of Lillard, what we get out of Giannis in the playoffs. They will make it to the playoffs. How far will they go depends on the health of those two and how committed they actually are to winning now. Then, of course, Boston has the best record in the East. Boston definitely the team to beat at this point in the East, no doubt about it. They made the upgrades early on in the season, and in the offseason, they have paid off. They are now 42-12. They play extremely well at home. Getting the number 1 seed definitely should be a priority for them. I definitely think it will help them. Right, we got Coach V checking in. What up, Coach? What's happening? Talking a little NBA right now, sir. And in the end, they are probably most people's favorites to win the East at this time. That's the East. Let's talk about the West for a minute, shall we? Moving out to the West, where the West has always been the better conference of the two in the last decade, pretty much. That being said, we can pretty much mark off San Antonio, Portland, and Memphis. Those 3 teams, the worst 3 teams in the West. San Antonio, they not built to win anything anytime this year anyway. So I don't even think that's that. I think the whole goal for them the rest of the year is to keep getting the big fella Wembanyama acclimated to the league and let him learn and take his lumps. Most of that team that he's playing with right now in a couple years won't even be there. I think we all know that. Portland, we knew they would be one of the lesser teams in the West this year after the trade of Lillard. They actually playing worse than I thought they would. A lot of youth in that lineup. Remind me of the Pistons, but just basically with better parts than we have. But yeah, that being said, they win more than 10 or 12 more games this season, I'd be stunned. Memphis, yeah, when Ja got hurt, that pretty much tanked their season yet again. Ain't too much more to say about that. No Ja for them, no playoff. All right, we got Houston. Surprise, Houston not playing a little better. They are 24-29 right now. I really not seeing them doing much better or worse the rest of the year. I think they kind of right there in terms of playoff because there is a play-in game. It's in a realm of possibility. It's just not likely. And Utah's not the team they were last year. Again, they one of those JAT teams, just another team, just kind of there, and it is what it is. And now we get to the playoff worthy teams. Golden State, they are number 10 right now. They won't finish there. Okay. They definitely are playing better. They are definitely got a lineup that is working for them. Chris Paul will eventually be back. That's going to make them even better still. I definitely see them moving up past the play in. I see them finishing perhaps 7th, 6th, maybe even 5, depending on how it goes, depending on how many home games they have. The Lakers right now, 29-26. Definitely not the same team that played in that tournament. They have not been quite the same. Very, very surprised that Anthony Davis has played most games and has played rather well. Definitely, if they were playing better, he would be an MVP candidate. But because they've been pretty much 500 or worse since then, we got what we got. I do believe they will improve. Did you hear the news that the Warriors actually tried to get LeBron James to come to the Warriors? They tried to trade for him. Asked LeBron then was like, you had to know that wasn't going to work that way. If anything, good people, LeBron would try to get Steph Curry to come over there with him with the Lakers. How would that work? Something to look out for next year. Realm of possibility. Anyway, we got them. They'll make the playoffs. I think we know that. Sacramento, not quite as good as they was last year. Okay, coach is saying he wants to leave LA. As in LeBron, no way, sir. No way, no form, no how. LeBron is a Laker fixture there. He has much business to do in LA. Remember, that's part of why he came out there in the first place. LeBron is not just a basketball player. He is a brand, and his brand works best in LA, where he can do his movie production, where he can run his empire for Nike and get set up to eventually be an owner in the NBA. We all know that's the master plan to him win another title too in LA, call it his career, and then basically find his way into ownership, getting a team in Las Vegas. That's what he wants. No, I don't think he even wants to be in Kobe's shoes, coach. I think he actually wants to do one better. He wants to do Kobe times 3. Yeah, Kobe kind of went the Hollywood route once he retired, but not to the degree that LeBron wants to do it. That will not happen, says coach. And then also keep in mind, coach, you got to remember, baby boy, LeBron Jr. in USC right now. Just a hop, skip, and a jump for where he plays at the Staples Center. I imagine if he does not come out after this freshman year, and I really, based on what I've seen of his play, think he should stay in school at least one more year. That, yeah, he definitely was going to want to be somewhere close to where he can watch Bronny play. Kobe built LA after Magic. Kobe built nothing, sir. LA was LA before Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal ever arrived with the Lakers. Showtime was Magic before even Magic got there. Remember, before Magic, there was this dude. Let me think. What's his name? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Before Kareem, there was this other dude, Wilt Chamberlain. Before Wilt Chamberlain, there was Elgin Baylor. There was the dude, the logo. They man, it's been so many people that made LA. Hey, there was George Mikan when they was in Minnesota, for God's sake. Kobe was a Laker. He did not make the Lakers, sir. We got to know our history on that one, coach. Come on now, bro. For real, for real. Anyway, back to the hookup. We got New Orleans at number 6. I would not be surprised if they made the playoffs. I would not be surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. It's some about that New Orleans team that just don't seem to quite want to go the way it should. You look at that lineup, you got the thin man himself, you got Zion, you got CJ McCullough, you got a lot of good players on that on that New Orleans squad. I really think they should be doing better than what they are. They just, I don't know. Again, they almost just another team, but they a little bit better than that. But we just don't get that effort from them every night. Phoenix, Phoenix will only go as far as they go if all three players, that's basically Bradley Beal, KD, and Booker, stay healthy. If the three of them stay healthy, I can see them making it at least to the Western Conference Final. If the three of them don't stay healthy, it's gonna be iffy. When they all healthy and all playing on the same level, they're one of the best teams in the league right now, no doubt about it. It just don't happen enough. I think even tonight they play. I want to say they play the Pistons tonight, and Bradley Beal not playing tonight. So there you have it. Denver Nuggets number 4 right now. None of that matters. None of that matters. As long as they finish in a playoff spot, my friend, that's all that matters. Because once they get there, they will be one of the favorites to beat. Okay. Right now, the MVP since Joel Embiid is not playing is still Jokic. He is still that dude. He is still a walking triple double. He is virtually unstoppable on nights that he is. As long as he continues to play at that high level and he gets enough of the side people to help him out, they are in title contention. Period. The Clippers. The Clippers by far is the surprise of this first half of the season. We knew at some point they were going to get the beard. We knew he was coming to the Clippers. It was just a question of when, how they was going to work it out. And they did. And everybody's like, this ain't going to work. It's too many superstars. They all going to need the ball. It ain't going to work. Well, so far, they are 35-17. And that's after going 0-4 them first 4 games he came over there. It's working. It continues to work. It will continue to work because they're making it work. And the key is Kawhi Leonard, okay? That dude stays healthy. He is one of the top 3. You heard what I said. One of the top 3 players in the league when healthy. Between his offensive and defensive paralysis, he is that guy. You get Paul George doing what he do, you don't even need to have Harden be the Harden that he was in Houston. You just need him to be half of that, and it works. And Westbrook basically making an ultimate sacrifice of the 4 to come off the bench and not play as many minutes. I think that all works out because I think he will play more minutes in the playoffs, and I think that will be to their benefit. And they have probably the best bench in basketball. So definitely the Clippers are a team to look out for. Then, of course, we got OKC, the young and up and coming. They are basically what Sacramento was last year, but I think they are a little bit better defensively, and they are better in terms of just being a scrappy team. I definitely see them making some noise in the playoffs, but I don't think they're quite ready for the big lights. And then you got Minnesota with the best record in the West. I think they are going to go down a bit in the second half of the season. Edwards, though. Look out for that dude, Edwards. That dude could ball. And if you don't know, and if you don't learn by the end of the season, I think when they all get to the Olympics, you will definitely see what type of basketball player that young man really is. Definitely looking forward to the Olympics. Think about it. On the men's side, you're going to have LeBron, Curry, KD, Edwards, Cat, Joel Embiid. Need I say more? That's a squad in of itself. Kawhi Leonard. That's going to be a nice squad for the Olympics on the USA side. Then on the women's side, come on now. You got Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi. You may possibly get Caitlin Clark on that squad. You got Brianna Stewart. You got Asia Wilson. Kelsey Plum. I mean, That's going to be an outstanding squad. So definitely looking forward to the men and the women basketball in the Olympics. There's going to be some outstanding squads that we got for the USA. That should be 2 gold medals for sure. For sure, for sure. But anyway, that is my assessment of the first half of the season for the NBA. Right now, if I had to pick the finals, I would go with probably either the Clippers or Denver in the West. And I'm definitely looking at Boston or Philly in the East. Those are my picks. As far as who's going to win it, I'm not ready to do that one. Can't go there. But I think those are the teams that's going to have something to say about it. And don't sleep on the Lakers. Don't do it. I think it may be possible. Anyway, that's it for our NBA. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's time to talk football. It was this game. They call it the Super Bowl. We talked about it. And we talked about NFL and some of the other stuff also. We're going to get into it. This is the Big Buck Sports Report. I'm E-Buck. That dude. Let's talk about one of my other shows right quick. Let's do that.
On Blog Talk Radio or where most great music podcasts are located. Don't forget to subscribe and show some love.
What's up, good people? It's your boy E-Buck in the building. And this is the show we call the Guru's Football Perspective, the session, whatever you would prefer. We just like y'all to come on in and talk this football with us. And of course, it's just not going to work for me at all if we have a football session involving the Guru and the Guru don't say nothing. So what up? What up, you?
What's good, man? How everything going?
Hey, man, you know, we're trying to maintain just to get by. As Talib Kweli once said in his rap.
Yeah, definitely, you know, we got to get into the special thing that happened on every Sunday or in early February, that second week of February. We got to discuss and get into that Super Bowl recap, man.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
You know how it was at first, even to tell the two tapes, man. The first half, man, was a snoozer. I didn't watch Bob Burgers several times.
Okay, let's get into that first half a little bit, Hugh. I mean,
the first was bad.
Both teams just went away from what they usually do. It didn't make no sense.
They were trying to be too vanilla.
Very much so. It really reminded me of like an early preseason game, the way they played that, especially that first quarter.
But them defenses was dogs, though, E. That's one thing you got to say. Them defenses played like dogs. And they wasn't going to let you get the upper ground on them. And that I did like. But you talking about a Patrick Mahomes-driven team and one of the most explosive teams with all those weapons with San Francisco that just basically laid an egg that first half.
And see, that's the thing. With KC knowing that they only have so much to work with, you're supposed to work with what you got. So we should have seen more Pacheco running the ball, particularly on the outside. I don't understand why they always got to run that dude on the inside.
He could get hurt.
Especially when they know their offensive line not quite as good. And he is a good running back on the outside.
And I'm surprised, too, because I thought that they would definitely share the reps with him and McKinnon since he was healthy and he was ready to play, you know. But Pacheco's one of them dudes that he run angry all the time, though. That man run angry and he runs
And
straight
I
up.
love how he run the
And
football.
I think that's why they definitely, you know, wanted to implement him more into their game plan, but they didn't use him enough with the run game. And I agree with you. They should have been using him more because they was getting chunky yards with him. For some
Yeah,
reason, man, it's like they just didn't stay with it.
right. And then of course on the San Francisco side, they worked better when they basically went beyond convention. I mean, like the one touchdown, and that was probably one of the best touchdown plays in Super Bowl history when they threw it to Cap Jennings and McCaffrey. That was awesome. I love that play.
And you know what's funny too? I've seen that play several times in the regular season, but I've never seen it in the Super Bowl. And that's what made that play so special. Because I know you've seen that play before. We've seen that like maybe several times this season, but never for a Super Bowl. And I was like, man, they got balls doing that. It was pretty cool because
Right.
by the
Do you
time McCaffrey got
understand,
that
Hugh?
ball, he went in untouched.
Do you understand that that was one of the prop bets, and that if I had bet something for real, like $5, that would have won me $70. Basically, the prop bet was
Oh yeah,
anybody
them props
that
are
wasn't a
crazy.
quarterback throwing a touchdown, because it hadn't happened in like 20 years. So the likelihood it was going to happen was not likely. That's why it was such a big prop bet. And I did actually bet on it, but I bet a quarter.
And it was crazy too because he threw a touchdown and he caught one, man. But the funny thing to me though, about that game, and I want to move into like the second half, unless you want to talk a little bit about the halftime show, because
Okay,
somebody
I will
gonna
get
end
in that,
up.
but the one thing I do gotta say is it was a lot of San Francisco fans on the feed that was very upset with the whole Jake Moody thing. And you know, now that I think about it, it's not that Jake, because Jake actually had a very good season in terms of kicking. The problem was that, remember, they drafted Jake Moody. And you know, drafting a kicker is something you rarely ever see. And of course, he was the second highest draft kicker ever because they got him in the third round. I think people felt some type of way about them taking him as a draft pick.
And that's crazy too, man, because I've noticed me watching New England football, they have two Hall of Fame kickers, you know, out of Vinatieri, second to none, and Gostowski, you know. But when you get somebody that high, third round, yeah, I thought Mooney was going to represent a little bit more. And Moody basically, when they needed him, it seemed like he made a lot of mistakes. Hell, some games in the season could have been won if he would have made some enough field goals, man. But then he
That's the
still,
one game
to
in particular that we all talking about, you where he missed the kick at the end. Yeah, but like I said, when you look at his statistics as opposed to the rest of the kickers in the league, he had a damn good season.
because he's just a rookie too, man. People got to realize this guy's a rookie and had that type of pressure on him. He only gonna get better, man. You know.
Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much all we got with the first half. Outside that, really wasn't nothing going on. I will say one more thing though, Hugh. I hated how old boy got hurt though. Greenlaw.
It was one of the most. It was one of the wackiest plays ever. Dre just basically, I think he was too hyped, man. Sometimes you just gotta will in them emotions because him being that hype, you know, he was so hype and ready to get out there, man. He slipped and fell. I said, you got to be kidding me, because we didn't see it. Remember, we basically got the other angle, and I think they showed. They was like, oh my God, this is what happened right here from the other angle that you guys didn't see. And then they showed him trying to run in and fell. And shit, he might not be back until training camp or later on, you know, after that
Right,
type of
because
injury too. And
it's a Achilles,
you
man, and
want
you
to
know how
see
that goes.
the best versus the best, but in that case, man, it was like that was just an accident, man. And everybody felt bad because they showed a picture of like when Patrick Mahomes and even the Kansas City players saw that, they was like, oh man, you know, they didn't want to look, and they was like, man, that's terrible, man, especially on a day like this. But you tell that they respected. It was a lot of sympathy for that guy. But yeah, that was really bad, man.
Right. I mean,
Out of
because you got to
all
realize,
games, hell, I would have been like, man,
I mean, just imagine, Hugh, you done finally made it to the Super Bowl, and this might be the only time you ever go, and that's what happened to you,
ever.
man.
I was so happy at the time when Green Bay did win that Super Bowl. Not because of Aaron Rodgers. You already know what I'm about to say.
Yep.
Because my man Charles Wilson, brushed man, he broke down in tears. He couldn't even play that second half. He was
Right.
going to
I
try to
mean,
play.
I
They're
definitely
like, no,
thought
man,
about
we want you to play yourself. And he pulled up, and I don't know what the halftime speech was, but every time when people talk about that Super Bowl, or what was the reason why you guys think y'all won that Super Bowl, they said, man, that speech that he gave. And speaking of speeches, man, I don't know what the hell Travis Kelsey told them boys. But they was ready that game, man. They said after that speech, man, them boys was in tears, man, and they was ready to do whatever it took, man. That's why I think Travis was so, hyper on the sideline when he looked like he was trying to body slam your boy Andy
yeah,
Reid.
and I'm glad that that was mentioned. And for those of y'all that kind of want some more insight into that, Travis Kelsey did his podcast today with his brother, and they talked about it. But me myself, I wasn't really tripping. You know that dude got much love for Andy. You know it wasn't nothing disrespectful. It was the heat of the moment. For those people who ain't never really played a football or basketball game like that, in the heat of the
Mm-hmm.
moment, stuff gets said, stuff get done sometimes that, later on in hindsight, you be like, man, I was tripping. And that's all that was. People, I'm so glad that they eventually won the game,
And what
because if
the,
they had lost, that's definitely something a lot of people would have pointed to. You know what I mean? All right, y'all. We have those technical difficulties as we sometimes do. Stand by as we get Hugh back on the screen here, and we'll be back with you in a second.
about it?
All right, yeah.
Yeah,
So we
man.
back now. Go ahead, Hugh.
I think what Travis Kelsey was pissed off about, man, too, and I don't think that you really know as much, because think about it. As a tight end, what's the two things that they grade you on, E?
Blocking and catch.
Which one did they grade him on? And he's the highest, and the other one he's very low at.
Blocking.
Exactly. I don't think that he liked that about himself, man. A lot of people don't give him credit where credit is due. And I still feel like he wants to be that guy who does the blocking and catching, but they don't use him on a lot of blocking plays. And that's why I think he was pissed off at on that play. That play just went to shambles. And he was pissed because it was Watson in the game and it wasn't him.
Right.
And like you said, at the heat of the moment, this is in a big game, man. You go to get a championship, and you're not in the game. You basically get benched for a guy who you want to block. So yeah, I know it was definitely in the heat of the moment. But when you're in the Super Bowl, you want to be there and you want to play, man. Unless I'm hurt, and I absolutely can't go out there like Dre Greenlaw, Charles Woodson, and some of the other guys who got hurt in Super Bowls just can't play, then I want to play. And that's why I think to where he was a little upset at. But at the end of the day, the best part about it was they found a way, man. That's what good championship teams do. And the messed up part about it is Kyle Shanahan found a way to choke once again.
Yep, true enough. And like I said,
It's
we'll get to
hard
that
to
first. We talk about the second half. But all right, let's throw a little extra bonus in there for y'all. Let's talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. Why not, Hugh? What was your thought?
I looked in on the Super Bowl halftime show and I was like, man, Usher gonna get his ass beat, keep putting his hand on people, women, man. I joked about it, and I put it on my page too. Sometimes that dude be getting too friendly, and it was just funny because it was a cover up saying that he tied the knot with his girl, and I said, oh no, that's a cover up. Somebody gonna get you, man. You keep touching on their women. Only time I touch chicks like that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Lord forgive me. Sometimes I be in relationships with them. Most times I be with chicks at work who was my girlfriend at work, and they had their boyfriend at home, and I was on work boyfriend. Lord, I had a lot of fun, man, being a work boyfriend, because I got a chance to do certain things other people didn't, you know. But at this point, man, it's like you doing it in front of millions. How many people watch that on TVE? 123.4
Second
million.
biggest television audience of all time.
You can't do that, Ush, man. Chill out, dude. But
In fact, quick fun fact, y'all. That was the second most watched television show ever. The only thing that got watched more in the history of television was the landing on the moon.
and that's incredible, man. Two worthy teams, but then I was telling people, because I know you probably was upset when I had Eminem and the Crying Jordan, but I had to humble people. You remember what I told you afterwards, and it all made sense when you saw it. I said, man, y'all chalk this up, man. I said, don't even be upset because we lost. I said, but man, we overachieved this year, and don't think Brad Holmes and them ain't just gonna sit on this and think like he's not thinking like your man's Dan Campbell. He was like, that might be our only shot. Remember what I showed you, what he said in his press conference. He said, man, we expect to be this good, and we're going to continue to build on that. And I think that they know their
That being
weaknesses
said,
right now.
let me say this, particularly about that first half. If it had been the Lions, they wouldn't have played scared like that.
No, I think that. Hey, did you hear what
what got them there?
You heard what Antonio Brown said, and it pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah, dude, I laughed at that because I said, man, you can say he got CTE or he crazy if you want, but I was like, this was one time I was like, I don't think Antonio Brown was crazy. Because, yeah, I think them boys would have put on the gas.
Right. That being said, don't be surprised, people, if the name Antonio Brown and Lions come up somewhere later on down the line. I could see it. I can see him attempting to do it anyway.
Yeah, he definitely gonna attempt.
Right.
But that second half, he got real wild, man. It just
hold on. Before we go there, I gotta give my little quick review of the halftime show. I loved it, y'all. Was it the best? Was it the best show ever? No. I'm sorry. It's gonna be an incredible show that's gonna have to be had in order for y'all to beat the show that Prince did at Super Bowl, where it actually started raining in the middle of him doing Purple Rain. You can't beat that, okay? But that being said, Usher, I ain't mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at none of it, especially Alicia Keys. She fine, y'all.
What's up with your man, though? Jermaine Dupri out there looking like a Oompa Loompa with them weird ass socks and that wild outfit he had on.
When I say y'all meme game is undefeated, the most meme thing outside of the Usher and Alicia thing was y'all talking about doggone Jermaine Dupri and his pilgrim pants and his them doggone socks.
He was looking like my man's Megaman with the big head of his too. He was looking like your boy Megaman.
And then the doggone Ludacris in the afro. But here's one thing y'all didn't think about. Y'all all remember the Club Shay Shay interview when Cat got to talk about how he didn't wear the afro, the sideburns no more. You don't think he did that on purpose? I'm just saying.
I'm definitely not surprised either.
Right, but no, Swiss, you can't be mad because you end up being with her after she end up taking you for somebody else. Can't get mad now. I'm just saying. And then here's the thing that I didn't know, Hugh. Did you know at one point in time, Usher and Alicia Keys actually was dating? For real.
I wasn't even aware of that.
So I wonder what the thought process was at that moment. Because I'm sorry, Hugh, if you tell me you Usher and that's Alicia Keys and y'all used to kick it, and you don't set up no show to where you get to grab that, put it one more time, tell me you doing it.
A lot of people were stunned too, talking about they didn't know Alicia Keys was that stacked. I'm gonna do something. I'm a graze it to something. I'm a man. That's what I'm doing.
I'm a grown ass man. I ain't mad at Usher at all. At all.
It was just basically like that work boyfriend relationship she did, which they
Right.
did that little hookup though. And I snitched on myself.
Shout out to her because her was looking good too. And she played the hell out of that guitar.
And yeah. But yeah, it
All
wasn't
right.
a bad happen. I actually watched it.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, it was a good one. But okay, back to the game itself. Now, the second half, again, the third quarter, I don't understand. It was a close game at that point. I need y'all to be like, look, it's time to start doing what we really do. That didn't happen.
You know what's funny to me too, Eve? You know when I knew they lost the game? I don't know if I text you or not, but I think I'm not sure, Eve, but I know I text you or either my nephew. I said, uh-oh. And then I know the thing was what's wrong, Hugh? I was like, man, you can't let Patrick Mahomes breathe. He threw an interception and you ain't even at least get a field goal. I said they lost.
I think
And
what
then
lost the game was in that third quarter when they had the punt and old boy touched it.
That muff fumble. Yeah.
I think that's what started to do on me.
That's where the momentum changed, man. Because think about if he would have held on to that ball and then they did something with it. That changed the momentum of the game, and that changed everything, man. And just really looked at that, and I said that was really crazy. And I laughed because what I don't like that San Francisco do all the time, and this is what happened, and it was some deja vu. And that's when I told you I thought they was gonna lose. What happened? And what was the celebration that was the thing that they lost from the last time? Remember when they was playing before in the Super Bowl? This was when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback. You get the interception, rather than just focus on playing the game, you want to celebrate. On a dude like Patrick Mahomes, you can't do that. You can't celebrate on him. Then you didn't do anything with the ball. How y'all gonna celebrate? Y'all even get 3 points.
And that's another thing I think that cost them. They started to get real chippy at that third quarter. Started to do a little bit too much of this, not enough of this. Because
you know who did
that, you play right into KC's hands. They've been here before. They know what it was.
And the funny thing was they shut down Kittle. I mean, at first they shut down Kelsey in the first half. And then the second half, when it seemed like they had that little spat on the sideline, Kelsey got off. They shut Kittle down the whole game. How many? 4 receptions for 2 yards or something crazy like that? It wasn't a lot of yards. I might be wrong, but it was something similar to that.
And see, that's part of what's not being talked about. Kittle, I think, got banged up in that game. And we already know that Debo was banged up. And, it was a point in that game where he came out kind of limping. I don't think he was 100%.
Yeah, come back. I think he shouldn't have came back.
Now that being said, there was a mention that Ayuk was not too happy about the overall results. And I kind of can't blame him. If those 2 weapons was hurt, he was the go-to guy at that point. And they should have went to him more.
Respect he deserved. That dude had more receptions than most of your receivers and tight ends in the regular season. And when it counts, you don't give it to him. He was clowning when he was getting the ball. And you just basically took your eyes off of him, man. And so I would have been feeling some kind of way too. And then we was upset too about how uneducated the San Francisco 49ers players was, man. And they really ought to be ashamed of themselves. I'm not even trying to be funny because remember we had that conversation. I said, how the hell we know more about your job than you do?
Okay, now what he was talking about is the overtime and how that all is set up. Keep in mind, they have changed the overtime rules in the last couple of years. It's not that whoever gets the ball scores and it's over. It has not been that for a minute now. Keep in mind, the same Super Bowl rules that was implemented in that overtime was the same for last year and the year before. You had 2 whole years to know that's how it went. And you don't know that? I mean,
I guess they don't.
That really concerns me. Maybe because they didn't know, that's why they played it the way they played it.
Because you know what I think too? I think when they thought that they was gonna kick that field goal and make it, that was gonna be it. That don't work like that, baby. If you don't score a touchdown and the other person or the other team score, you lose.
They should
I
have
guess they
basically
was
told
really
them
celebrating
it's set
that
up just
field
like
goal.
it is in the NCAA. Because you know all them players that played in the NCAA before, and they're familiar with those overtime rules. It's almost the same. The only thing is different is about the 2-point conversions and whatnot. And that's the thing that I found interesting because Andy said it didn't matter anyway. Because even if it did come down to they scored first and then we was gonna score, we was going for 2 anyway. We was going for the win, which makes sense because how many times have we seen KC come out with all type of crazy 2-point plays in the last few years?
One play could have been to the point where that I still felt like that should have been a win, and I still feel like that person is in the doghouse. We will not see that person in Kansas City again because he was so hyped, and Kadarius Toney thought that he was gonna play that game, and they healthy scratched
Man,
him.
ain't no way. I don't even understand why he was even on the roster for that game. We know he done there. There's no way they bring that dude back. Can't do it. And I'd be
Big
stunned to
up,
see him play for any NFL team next year. Go ahead
you
and
know.
release him now so he can go ahead and hit the training camp for the UFL.
You know who's been making big catches, man, when it mattered to E? Big ups to Marquez Valdez Scantling, man, because you know we rode him and we dogged this brother out this year for
Way to
messing up in big
redeem
ways.
yourself.
Yeah, man. And it's funny too, man, because you know I can't go without being said, E, about your boy Kyle Shanahan. Remember what I said, and this dude is the Buffalo Bills of when it comes to basically coaches and the big game in the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan, of course, you know he 0-3 in Super Bowls. He's on one as an offensive coordinator, and he's 0-2 as a head coach. Both of the
And we
double
got to mention that because go ahead, tell him, Hugh.
both of the double digit leads that he had was by 10 points to Kansas City, and Kansas City overcame both of those leads. I don't even really think we got to talk about the 28-3 debacle that they had against New England. Neither, man. That was the other game. You was up 10 points on both Kansas City games and 25 against New England and still couldn't, pull off the victory.
Right.
That's a
I
damn
mean,
shame.
and a couple people I need them to get their proper due in this game. First and foremost, Patrick Mahomes. He ain't there yet. He ain't Tom Brady, but he getting there. He is
His
definitely the
statistics
best quarterback
so
in
close.
the NFL right now.
For them 3 years, like that little span or that span that they've been in the Super Bowls, it is so close. They won their first Super Bowl, then back to backs. I seen that and I said, damn, they're very similar. The one thing that I think that hunts Patrick Mahomes, and I said, even if he do pass Brady, which is still easier said than done, the fact that when they asked him, man, how do you feel about the similarities and you winning just as many as your age 28 is Tom Brady. He said, well, that's good and all, but he said at the same time, though, even if I could catch his record, he beat me more times when it mattered. Remember, he stopped Patrick Mahomes going to 2 Super Bowls when he was in the AFC, and then he beat him in the Super Bowl when he went to the NFC. So a lot of that stuff went through Tom Brady, and it's not like it was even any closer than that,
And see,
man.
that's the thing, Hugh. You really got to think about it. If not for Tom Brady, he
He would have
worked
more
all
Super
those
Bowls.
Super Bowls, and he may have won all of them. He's the only reason why he has not won 4 already. Why he has not been to 6 already.
But think about if Brady would have won one of those against New York and this or that play would have happened, or if he beat Peyton Manning when Peyton Manning went to the Super Bowl. It's always going to be those what ifs. But at the same time, I look at it like you said, though, man. Patrick Mahomes is poised, man. And when they were losing, they found a way, man. While I feel like San Francisco basically choked. And I always come back to this as Kyle Shanahan's play calling, man. And I know did you see what happened today? I wouldn't be surprised if you aware of it. You
Well, like
see
I
the news that
said,
came out?
we could talk about Shanahan's play calling, but what won that Super Bowl was Spagnola's play calling on defense. That is why they have made him the highest paid defensive coordinator in football today. If that's what you're talking about.
Speaking of defensive coordinators, I don't know if you was aware they fired Steve Wilkes today, the defensive coordinator for San Francisco.
Not a
And I'm
surprise.
like,
Not at
and
all.
I'm like, and I thought about it, and I was like, I want to know what this about because technically
Come on,
Shanahan,
you. Somebody had to be
Shanahan,
the scapegoat.
nice,
Uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
you know what it is. Y'all know what
Yep.
this means.
I was hearing two rumblings that they don't get along that well, and that's been going on the whole season. No, he was just a scapegoat because you and I know that Shanahan is on thin ice, man. I still feel that way. His seat might not be hot as some people, but that seat getting hot.
Oh, trust me, that seat is real hot. Again, what I always try to do is take a little time since we had the power of the internet and check out what the sports blogs and the sports talk is doing in that particular time. If you think Philly fan was mad last year after the Super Bowl, you should have heard of what some of San Francisco fan was saying after this one. They was pissed. And most of the ire was against two people. Moody, who did not deserve it, and Shanahan, who probably did.
He definitely did. He basically it just seems like when it comes to the big game, he chokes, man. He looks good in the first half most times, even though that was a living on a prayer type play that they scored when they took the lead. But in that second half, he does not have any good adjustments, man.
Right. Okay. Well, let me get a few more clips in here, then we gonna move on because we want to talk about before we head out what the season looked like for all the teams and where we think they should probably head in the following season. We'll get to that
Had
in
a
a minute.
nice
But
half.
first, let me say the other person I want to get some respect on their name, Andy Reid. Andy Reid been one of the best coaches in the National Football League for a very long time now. And I'm glad he's starting to really get his true recognition.
I like Andy Reid not only because of his recognition. You already know I like Andy Reid because and I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this, man. He was the only person who gave my man's Michael Vick a chance, man, because we know how grimy Andy Reid's sons are. Them dudes are thugs.
No doubt.
And but he did it, and he basically was like, "Man, let me go ahead and help a person and reach out a hand to somebody who a lot of people ain't want to help Vic at first, man." And that's when I was like, "Man, if I never had love for Andy Reid, I care enough to say that I respect him that much more now." And I've always had that respect for him, just because he reached out there and he gave that brother Vic a chance.
I can't think of any player in the NFL that had too much bad to say about Andy Reid. Even the great Terrell Owens, who basically complained about some of everybody he played with, I don't ever recall him having anything bad to say about Andy.
Yeah, they all love Andy, man. He just good peoples, man.
Absolutely.
I think.
And I'm glad that
I think.
he gonna stick it out. And I think, truthfully though,
Yeah.
if they do manage to three-peat next year, I think that's gonna be it for Andy. I think he's gonna ride off after that. And Travis did announce today. He basically said he riding as long as Andy is. So if Andy leave next year, it's a possibility Travis might go on right behind him.
And I know Chris Jones trying to tell people now he ain't going nowhere, and his plans are not to go anywhere. And you already know what that means, E, because I seen that like earlier in the week too. So I said he must be talking because he heard the news was going to happen in the beginning of the week, which we said we kind of figured that this was going to happen. Your boy going to tweak his contract once again to try to make some cap space and some room to get Chris Jones at least a good 2-year contract or something of that nature. But they're going to figure out a way to run it back and get Chris Jones back in the mix. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's not the case because he was definitely speaking a different tune today when I saw him on social media.
Yeah. And like I said, as much as I enjoyed the Super Bowl, and shout out to my family members that live in the Kansas City, Missouri area.
I
However,
know
there was some bad news that we do have to report, unfortunately, because there was the parade today, and it's being reported that there was a shooting at the parade, and several people have been wounded. I hate that we just can't enjoy the moment the way we need to. That we even have to worry about stuff like that going on. I mean, I hate that that happened, especially for people. And I'm hoping, like I said, that none of my family members are among those people that got hurt because
I
they
just
actually do go to the parade.
I'm looking at it too. He is saying one dead, multiple hurt at the Chiefs parade. What the
Yeah.
hell
So
escalated?
again, family, I put it on social media earlier, but if you did go to parade and you okay, please let us know in the comments. Reach out to your boy and let us know that you all right because I know y'all would do the same if it was us. But yeah, I mean, in the end, in terms of actual game, not so much. Good ending though.
Good fairy tale ending.
Absolutely. And notice we went 33 minutes and 9 seconds, and we didn't mention her not one time. But she was there, and I was happy her dude won, and we'll leave it at that. All right, y'all. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about how the season went, give y'all some quick insights to where we think we're going next year with it. I might even give y'all early prediction of who I think gonna win next year. Should not be a big surprise. We'll be right back.
Please follow Rose Stardom Radio on Blog Talk Radio or where most great music podcasts are located. Don't forget to subscribe and show some love.
All right, good people, we are back. And now that we have talked about the Super Bowl, and again, congratulations to the Chiefs, we are now going to talk about the season as it ended and, give us some quick review. We're going to try to make it quick anyway. All right, we're going to start off with the AFC. AFC West definitely did not go the way we thought it would at all. We actually thought it was going to be a lot of good play in the AFC West. Didn't turn out that way. Happy for the Raiders, though. Raiders definitely had a better season than I thought they would. What's your quick thoughts on them, you?
Absolutely, man. If I had to give them a grade, they definitely had a B minus, man, due to the fact that I think that it's funny to tell of two coaches that made everything swing, man. The whole momentum swung once you ended up getting Antonio Pierce, man. And I think that it was because of the fact that Josh McDaniels, man, I think he rubbed people the wrong way. And that's what Gronk was saying too when he ended up being released. I can kind of understand that. And I think him doing things and still trying to focus on the Patriots way, man, I thought he would have learned from the first go round. And then once Antonio Pierce came in, it was a whole different team, man, a whole different personality they picked up. And I feel like that shouldn't be going without saying, man, I definitely had to been spoke upon.
They definitely played him. Mark Davis, what took you so long to pull that trigger, bruh? If your father had been alive, he would have hired that dude before the season even ended. Truth and truth. I do believe that's how Art Shell got the job back in the day, if I remember right. He was the interim and before the end of the season, yeah. But anyway, that was that. Kind of confused as to how to really grade the Broncos. What's your thoughts on them?
The Broncos, I gave them a C minus, man. At first, they definitely was gonna get an F from me, but then they ended up getting a C minus because they went on that win streak. But what's weird about it too, even to this day, they're still playing with Russell Wilson. I feel like it's like them dangling the carrot saying, well, we'll let you know when we make our decision on you. But right now we're still trying to figure out what we're gonna do. Shit, if you're not gonna keep him, man, what's the holdup? But I still feel like all in all, it took for them to get beat that bad, the 70-piece game, for them to actually start to step up, man. And I give a lot of credit to that team in general for them really playing as good as they have after that beatdown. And it was just weird, though. It seems like after that Lions game, Deshaun Payton just started feeling some kind of way, and that ended up backfiring on them, man, this year. But I definitely felt like they had a chance, and just feel like they squandered it from putting in what's my man's name, Jared Stidham. Man, you should have just stayed packed and did what you had to do. And I still think that if they did make the playoff, they would have had a better chance with Russ. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed. I mean, in the end, I hope they go with a new quarterback next season, as in a rookie, and basically grow it to where he wanted. I mean, because clearly the issue seemed to be Russ wasn't running the plays the way he running it. So hopefully he gets the guy that he can mold to his image and go from there. I mean, they still gonna have hell trying to win the AFC West as it is, because I brought up those two teams and they should be better next year. But the two teams to beat in that division clearly are going to be Kansas City and Los Angeles Chargers.
He let me see who they talking about getting to in the draft, man. I'm very interested. I'm pretty sure I heard something of if a Bo Nix slide down to them, that they will pick him at that spot for the Denver Broncos. That was the rumor that
I think that would be a good pick for them.
Yep, I'm right,
that.
E.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see it, but yeah, Bo Nix.
Yep, and there
right
it is. There. But yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, because Peyton, we know he's a good offensive coordinator and a good coach in that regard. So I think they'll be decent next year. But again, like I said, they play in that division with the Chargers and the Chiefs, and I do believe they will be the cream of the crop. And I definitely think, depending on what quarterback that the Raiders get, they're gonna be pretty much better than they were. Because it's not like they don't have no weapons to work with over there. They definitely do. When you can think about Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs and the like. So anyway, I mean, I'm gonna safely assume, Hugh, that you think the Chiefs did the best in that division.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny too, because
I wouldn't give them an A though. I would not.
No, I definitely shit. I get them a B minus, man, because as good as they were this year, I feel like the difference maker wasn't even really the offense; it was the defense, because they played a lot of sloppy games, man. And then the offense didn't hold them this year. So yeah, you'd be mad if you want to, Kansas City fans, but you know and I know that they don't deserve no A, and I feel like they were close to getting a C plus, but I just ended up giving them a B minus because of that defense here.
I had to say, in looking at it now, based on what I saw, I don't think I gave any team an A straight up. It might be a couple A minuses, and I think I would have gave Kansas City an A minus, but I'm really leaning more toward a B plus now that I think about it, because again, there was those games where they won, but they probably shouldn't have. All right, let's move on. AFC South. You had to love what the Texans did.
Now that's a team I give an A minus to, due to the fact that you had a rookie coach, you had a rookie quarterback, and you had a team that people didn't think was going to really have a chance. They did a few one-year contracts, so I think that they definitely should upgrade on Dallas Schultz. They need to give him an extension, but they did it the right way too, and I smiled about it because I said, "Wow, man! If Bill Belichick wasn't being too greedy and trying to control and do everything there, if he just would have just did what he's supposed to do and just coached, he probably wouldn't be in the situation he in right now." Because like I said, Nick Casario is probably one of the best GMs, to me, top 3 right now, from what he did with that team who was that bad last year to win the division and going to the divisional round, man. No, actually, to the divisional round.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely gave them an A minus. It's crazy because they basically did what the team that they end up beating did the year before, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I just don't understand how it all just kind of fell apart for them at the end.
I was surprised with the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. Everybody was comparing them to us. They were saying they're like the AFC Lions, but then they was kind of dogging us, man. I still feel like Jacksonville lost more games and they was still ranking them higher than us. But then when it came to the end, it just seemed like they collapsed, man. They didn't win the games that they needed to win, and they choked, man. There ain't nothing else to it. So, yeah, man. If since we own the Jacksonville Jaguars, I get them a C minus.
I got to give him a B minus. I mean, in the end, Trevor Lawrence not the quarterback that we thought he was going to be so far. I mean, I really thought that he was going to come in the league and be better than Joe Burrow, and I'm not seeing that from him.
Yeah, man, that's huge shoes to fill too, and he definitely ain't filling them right now, unfortunately.
Right. They were saying basically in terms of his overall physique and all of that, the arm strength and all that, he was probably going to be one of the best quarterbacks to ever come in the league, and I'm not seeing that. And it's another quarterback we're going to mention later on. I would not be surprised if it turned out like that for him too, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right.
Okay.
Unfortunate what happened to the Colts, man. If only he hadn't got hurt, I think things might have been a little different for them.
Now I actually give them a B right now, a solid B, because for what they did when they lost Anthony Richardson, man, I really thought they wasn't gonna do nothing without him.
Yeah.
Not only did they play good, but I still feel like Gardner Minshew did just enough to get them so close. And I think they should hang their heads because we know Anthony Richardson will be back healthy. And I still feel like a few tweaks here and there, man, that team will be in the playoffs, man. So, yeah, I was definitely happy with their production. And I thought that it'd probably be a little better with Anthony Richardson, but without him to go and do what they did, yeah, they deserve that.
Right, but clearly, you know, in the little small sample size that we saw from Richardson, I definitely think he has some better days ahead in Indianapolis. I think he's gonna be a good one. Maybe not a great one, but a good one. And then of course, the whole Tennessee Titans thing, I'm just not sure what happened with any of that.
Tennessee Titans, I get them a D, man, because they just fell off a cliff. Nobody thought that was going to be as bad and as funny because their record was kind of similar to what the New England Patriots record was, and they both was jockeying for my man's DeAndre Hopkins. And how did that pan out? The team who got him didn't really do as good, you know. So yeah, I still feel like they deserve that D, and it was crazy too. Pause. Did the fact that not only did they actually go out like that, but then they start looking at it like maybe we need to go in the opposite direction. And then Vrabel, you know, left the whole organization. And if you look at the new guy, you know, as their head coach, and it's a head scratcher. But yeah, man, they do what they want to do with their organization. But then I get them a D because I feel like definitely low expectations.
Yeah, the D is plausible applause. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Levis is not the quarterback when they start next year. I wouldn't be surprised they go get another quarter. I'm not quite sure what they're gonna do.
Hell yeah, it's so weird.
It's weird. Okay, we move on. All right. AFC North end up being probably the best division in football this year, if you really think about it.
I agree.
I mean, for the most part, they all pretty much could have went to the playoffs. Only thing I think kept Cincinnati out was obviously what happened to Joe Burrow. But the rest of the teams, they all, I mean, just pick and choose which ones you want to talk about, Hugh. I mean, they all at least get a B from me. Even Cincinnati, I gave them a B minus. Yep. So they still made out decent.
I give them a B minus. I give your boys Cleveland Browns a B plus. And then I gave the Steelers B minus. I gave the Ravens a solid A though, because when you look at it, no, you didn't think they was gonna be that good. It just pissed me off that they really start to click once they played us, and they really start whooping people. But just to be where they were to where they were at before they lost to Kansas City. And the funny thing is, too, E, man, that game, it was so freaky when they lost, man. It was like my man's jumped to try to jump in the end zone. He got the ball, fumbled it, and it was a recovery. Just certain things just didn't go their way for them to lose because that was a really close game. But yeah, man. Other than that, the season really went well with them, man. Because I didn't think Todd Monken's offense was gonna click that fast, but he got them like an offensive juggernaut, and they played really good, man. And yeah, I definitely will give them a solid A.
I think the MVP of the league got MVP of the league because they got him to start playing more like Patrick Mahomes and less like Lamar Jackson. But I think when the time came and they needed him to play like Lamar Jackson, and he still was trying to play like Patrick Mahomes, and that's why they didn't go to the Super Bowl. And based on what we saw, I think much like in the regular season, if they would have went, they would have won.
Yep, I definitely think they would have whooped on San Fran.
Much like they did in the regular season. Agreed. But like I said, I was just impressed with the AFC North in general. They all was tough teams. They all played good defense for the most part. I hate what happened to JJ Watt, well, TJ Watt at the end of the season. Otherwise, who knows how much farther they could have went with Pittsburgh. Cleveland, they was good until they wasn't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun will be back next year. You got to play him because you got to pay him. So I'm curious to see
That's a
how that goes. And
was he
we
trying to
all
run?
heard certain rumors that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, like I said, that whole division was pretty good all year. And them were some of the better games that we saw
Outstanding.
all year when they played whoever they played. Now, of course, we got the AFC East. Must we talk about the Patriots? We know what happened there, don't we?
F minus.
I think they definitely played the worst of any team in the league. I agree.
Then they got a G.
I don't even think we need to explain it. Y'all saw it. They was a disaster from the beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of that offense, just start all over.
And then
Defense was
I'm
all
gonna
right.
give you
That offense just started all over. They all could get it. Okay. We unfortunately know what happened with the Jets. I mean, it was not the team they expected to have. Okay. Nope. I mean, when you talk about people winning the MVP without even playing, that's kind of what Aaron Rodgers was. Because with him healthy, that would have been a whole different team.
and I know that, but I give them a D though. They definitely get a D.
I gotta give them a C minus. I just think they were stupid. I mean, remember, at one point in time, y'all could have went and got Joe Flacco. Hell, he was just as familiar with your offense as he was with Cleveland's. He
It
was there
was,
last
and remember how good he played with the Jets last year when he started.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there were other people that said, yeah, I'll be interested, and y'all turned them down. Hell, I think y'all should at least kick the tires on your boy Kaepernick. Don't even get us started with that, but nonetheless, y'all blew it. Okay, then, of course, Miami. Your thoughts?
I give them a B minus, man. That was a solid A at one point, but I just feel like the way they went out, they bullied all the teams they supposed to be, and then you just got thrashed by the teams that you was competing with, or like the 500 teams. And it's just a lot to need to be said from over there. But at the same time, I did feel bad for them because they lost Jalen Phillips and they lost my man Bradley Chubb. And it was just like they had so many injuries, man, a lot of bad injuries on defense that was supposed to help them. I feel like Jalen Ramsey came back too little too late. But yeah, man, I definitely feel like with them, they deserve a B minus, man, because I just felt like the lackluster play that they had when they played the better teams, man. I just felt like they just never seemed like they stepped up to play those teams.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. And of course, talking about Buffalo next, I don't think they're gonna get there, bro. I think the best chance they had was here, and they blew it.
I think it's done for them, man. Remember, we talked about it, man. They just need to figure out what type of undraft capital they can get for Stephon Diggs. They need to see if they want to have somebody else come over and play with, your boy Josh Allen. Because you notice, man, I've seen it a lot. He'd get uninterested if he ain't getting the ball, man, and he'd dog it out on plays or what have you, man. And I just didn't feel like he gave his best effort, and it didn't help when his brother talked and said what he said neither, because it's like if you said that, you would have thought that Stephon Diggs would have backed it up, and he did the exact opposite. So yeah, I'd be looking at like, man, how can we get this contract, get rid of this dude, and ship him off somewhere else and be their problem?
Right. And when we say their problem, let that not be the Lions. I don't want that dude nowhere near us. He
Did
got
I say
bad.
the grade already?
No, you didn't get him a grade. What you give him?
They get a C plus.
I give him a C. I really want to give him an incomplete because they struggled their first half of the season, but the second half it was like they had built this great momentum. They actually had finally got the game they was waiting on. They all had been saying, well, can't nobody beat Patrick Mahomes because they always at home. If we can get them at our house, it'll be a whole nother story. And
It
when
was
all
at
was
their
said
house.
and done, it wasn't. Mattered not.
I
Mattered
still
not.
didn't have no love for them too, evil man. If I can change my grade, I'm gonna get them a C minus because I almost forgot. Remember, they lost to the New England Patriots, man.
Yeah, that part.
I can't forget that.
And wasn't a good game at all. Okay, well, that's AFC in a nutshell. And I see it like this, based on how everything is set at the moment, not knowing draft picks and whatnot. If I had to pick who was going to go back next year on their side, I'm kind of hard pressed not to pick Kansas City to go back one more time. What about you?
I wouldn't be surprised, man. It's gonna either be them or them purple people eaters, man, Ravens. But until my man's proved to me, Lamar Jackson, that he can beat them, I would definitely say the front runner would be Kansas City coming out once again.
All right, so that's that. Okay, now that being said, we're gonna take a quick little pause, and then we're gonna come back, finish up with the NFC. All right, all right. Here we is. All right, y'all. Now let's talk the NFC. Give y'all some of our final thoughts on them. We're gonna start it out with, of course, the NFC West, seeing that's where the Super Bowl player came from, San Francisco 49ers. If I remember correctly, Hugh, you did pick them to win this thing. They didn't quite get it done. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I picked them at the beginning of the season, and that's why I didn't want to falter on it and, try to be a sellout or nothing, man. I said it, and then I had to rule with the words. Appreciate you saying that, too, because I definitely had to stand by him. I just feel like, man, the one thing that made me nervous, and I didn't want to even bring that up as a bad karma or like a jinx or something, was Kyle Shanahan, man. I feel like that he's always more. Don't you notice this, E? He's always more aggressive in the first half, and he get very vanilla in the second half, man. And he never really tried to take no risk. I still look at it like plays like when Sean Payton did the onside kick when they played the Colts, and to get an extra possession to win the Super Bowl. And certain things like that teams do to say, man, we're desperate and we trying to win and we'll do whatever we have to do to win. I just don't see that with San Francisco. They get too relaxed, man. And that's the reason why I feel like I had them at a high grade at one point. Their grade is not low still, but I give them a B plus. I had them at a solid A, but I gave them a B plus due to the fact that how at the end things just start to kind of fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, because in the end, everybody still kind of wonders about Purdy and whatnot. I think Purdy's fine. He is the
He
quarterback for
played pretty good for the
I
Super
don't
Bowl.
have no issue with him. I need us to just let that whole Mr. Irrelevant thing go. He is a quarterback in the NFL. Let it be. What it boiled down to is they did not utilize the offense effectively when it came down to time to do so. I mean, yeah, Chiefs had a good defense. We know that. But in the same token, the reason why it worked is because when they decide, okay, now we got to throw the ball, that was the apt time for Chris Jones to come powering through and disrupt things to a point to where that play didn't work. And now here he is punting or kicking or what have you. And let me say to you, Hugh, I was wrong about Chris Jones. I basically felt like he was just doing all right in terms of the Chiefs. He definitely was the major X factor in that game, and I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah,
But no,
that dude, man, I look at him and think that too.
I still kind of think whatever went wrong them 3 weeks that they lost, that kind of is what happened with them in that Super Bowl game. If they could clean that up, they should be at least close to where they made it this year.
Yeah, because I was definitely surprised in how they just fell apart, man. And just seems like, and I had that in the back of my head too, man. I was like, Kyle Shanahan seems like he choked the big games, and that seemed like that's not going to change. So, yeah, I definitely was feeling some kind of way when you see him do what he did the last three Super Bowls too, man. It was just like watching, it was deja vu, watching the same thing over again.
Right. And okay, then it's the tale of two teams. The San Francisco, not San Francisco, the Seattle Seahawks that kind of underachieved, and the Los Angeles Rams that kind of overachieved. What's your thoughts on them two?
The Rams, I definitely gave them a B because I was shocked. At first, I was like, yeah, they're going to be kind of bad and it's going to be a rough stage for them. But then Puka Nacua, then defense, like the front started to pick it up. And they had like a lot of good rookie people that they drafted this year in the later rounds step up, man. And that was just really good drafting from them, but not even having a first round pick. And then, yeah, they definitely deserve that, the solid beat. But then when it came to the Seahawks, I get them a C minus due to the fact that I thought they'd be a better team. And it seemed like they came out doing pretty well at the beginning. And then they fell off, man. And I think some of the part of the blame, though, was when they had when Geno Smith was injured.
Yeah, agreed. And like I said, sometimes that major injury is just what it takes to kind of put you right where you almost made it. I think that's what happened with Seattle. In terms of the Rams, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised by the Rams. I was not expecting them to even make it to the playoff discussion, let alone to the playoffs. But lo and behold, they did. Matthew probably the healthiest he had been in years.
In a while.
And that definitely helped because, a healthy Matthew Stafford is at least a fringe Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned. And that definitely helps. I'm curious to see what type of adjustments they make in off season in terms of who they keep in, who they going to add to the scenario. But they played a good season. I definitely think so.
Yeah.
What team am I missing here from the West? Where my notes at?
The Cardinals.
There we go. Yeah, even they kind of surprised me at the end, to be honest. I think they learned enough to know that, you definitely got to keep the kid and see what y'all can rework from there.
Mm-hmm. I gave them a solid D too, because at first I didn't think they were going to do anything this year, but just the way they played and how hard they fought and they competed in every game, just about, yeah, I had to give them credit where credit's due. And you look at it and you say, not only does that coach have a good opportunity to get a lot more talent, but they definitely have to spread the talent and put it around Kyler Murray now too. That's why I think too, they're going to have a high-powered wide receiver or a hybrid over there to put over there with him. Give him some weapons and put this like a make-or-break year for him. But, yeah, man, they definitely still competed in every game.
Yeah. Like I said, they definitely did about as well as any teams that we about to talk about next, which is that NFC South. I think it boils down to Tampa Bay, the trash, and then the sewage that is the Panthers. Go wherever you want with that.
Tampa Bay, I gave them a B minus. Nobody expected them to do well, man. We thought they were going to be one of the very last teams, to be like at least one of the top three teams drafting.
Yeah.
But Mayfield started clicking with Mike Evans and, Chris Godwin. And it just seemed like a lot of the rookies stepped up, man, on offense and defense. And yeah, man, they played better than what I thought they would. But still, this was a bad division. New Orleans was 9-8 and didn't make the playoffs, but at the same time, I still look at them and I feel like, man, this is basically it for them. They're still below the cap, and they're not going to get any better. I gave them a D. I gave Atlanta a D minus. You already know what I'm about to give. The Panthers, they get a flat out F.
I think they don't even deserve F. I think F is too good a grade for the Panthers. I mean, really, when you think about, you actually made the trade to get the number one pick, and clearly you chose the wrong guy. All due respect to Mr. Young, when you look at what CJ Stroud did with Texans, yeah, they two entirely different level of quarterback. And I think if you would have put CJ Stroud on that squad, they at least would have made it interesting. They definitely would have won a few more games as far as I'm concerned. But I look at the rest of that squad and what picks they got left, considering that because of them, the Bears have the number one pick. We'll talk about them in a minute. I don't see them being no good no time soon. I think they already my pick next year to be the worst team in the league again.
That definitely wouldn't surprise me because I still haven't seen anything that they can do yet to really make that team better. I believe Brian Burns and a lot of other people, like the talented people on that team, going to be gone once this free agency hit. So, yeah, man, it's going to be starting from scratch all over again with that team.
Right. And I mean, starting all the way over. Basically, you keep Bryce Young and everybody else. Let's see what happens. But okay, that's that. We can move on. I really don't see the NFC South being too much better next year either. We basically go to the East. We thought that was going to be a good division. Let's go there. How about them Cowboys?
It seemed like they always the Super Bowl champion on paper at the beginning of the season, but they always fall short. Definitely deserve a B. I give your boys, though, the Philadelphia Eagles a D because they fell off. The Giants, I gave them a C minus. And I gave F to the Washington Commanders.
Well, like I said, I gave Cowboys a C plus because when you consider how everybody had them the de facto Super Bowl champion off rip, and that's how I ended up with that first round butt whooping, they definitely underachieved. When it comes to the Cowboys, the thought process, according to Jerry Jones, everybody else is Super Bowl, but as much as they get talked about in the national media, you can't finish your season like that. You got to do better. You got to.
Ain't no way.
Yep. And then as far as the Commanders go, I'm not even liking the direction that they headed after the season thus far. It looked like
I think they're a record than probably the Panthers, or they might be dead even.
Right there with them. I can't even lie. I'm not seeing anything, even though they do have some talent on offense still, that make me think that they're going to do much better next year at all. As far as the Eagles just had a weird ass season. I can't explain it. Clearly, there was some division in that locker room. I think we started to see that in them last few games where they weren't quite on the same page with one another at times. I still contend that Jalen Hurts was hurt a good part of that season. Would not even surprise me if we get an announcement in the next couple of weeks that he's having some type of off-season surgery on his leg or knee, or they might even go one better and just kind of keep it on the low. But yeah, that brother was not right, and we know it. We know it wasn't. I mean, give him credit for playing through it, but it just wasn't the same once he wasn't the same. I mean, that's pretty much it. So, of course, that leaves us with our favorite division, the NFC North. And before we get to our favorite team, I'm going to talk about the rest of them because the team that's going to stir the pot, that's going to be the whole key to this hot stove season is the team with the number one pick that had the worst record in the North. That would be them Bears.
I'm gonna give the Bears an actual C plus, man, because at first they came out looking like who we thought they was gonna be at first, and then they just stepped to put the gas on, man. I said, wow, this team was very explosive. And I said, where did this go this whole time? But I think they got implemented to the offense, and then I think that just everybody meshed and played well. But the problem where I think they slipped off or slacked off is when Justin Fields got hurt. That was a big factor into it too. And when they start playing well, they clicked on a whole nother level, man, with Clement and DJ Moore. So I definitely feel like in the draft, one of those picks is going to definitely be like a wide receiver, or they might get somebody in free agency. But they definitely need somebody on the opposite side of DJ Moore. But yeah, I definitely feel like they did really good though. So I get them a C plus.
I gotta admit, if I am Bears brass and ownership and GM right now, I'm not sure what to do. They did just good enough to make it interesting, but just bad enough to not know what I should switch out and what I shouldn't. Obviously, getting the trade that they got the trade deadline. That now that I think about it, when you mentioned it, like why the Lions didn't get that brother, why they didn't get Chase Young, I'm really starting to wonder that myself now, considering what they needed just to make that happen. But I'm not sure if they should keep Fields. I'm not sure if they should trade Fields. I'm not sure if they should keep the number one pick. I'm not sure if they should trade the number one pick. And remember, they still got their own pick that I believe is like a top 12 pick. I'm not sure what route to go with them. I mean, I think you kind of good either way. If you go ahead and draft that kid out of USC and say, okay, Caleb Williams, it's on you now. I think you might be good. Like, okay, Fields, you done showed me enough. Let's get you some weapons and see what you can really do. I think they good either way. I mean, considering that they still gonna have to contend with the big dogs in the division.
Mm-hmm.
I think you all right either way. I don't think it's no bad decision you really make here. If you put the weapon to my head, I think I would go with trading that pick, trading it to the highest bidder. Remember, they're saying that in order for them to trade the number one pick right now, they want the biggest boatload of picks we've ever seen. What does that look like? That's going to look better than what they got last year from the Panthers. So I figure that's going to be like 3 number ones, maybe a couple number twos in that, and maybe a player or two. I think it's going to be something ridiculous. Is there a team willing to pay that? I think it is. And you know who that team is, you?
Who, the Panthers?
The Commanders.
Oh, the Commanders? It was
if I'm the Commanders, I pull the trigger on that.
Especially for the quarterback, too.
Right, but if not, then I'm not mad if they take that number one pick and make that Marvin Harrison. I ain't mad at it at all. But okay, then we got what's going to happen in Minnesota. Because Minnesota, for everything that happened in terms of quarterback and all that, they still managed to have a decent season.
Yeah, I get them a D plus due to the fact that, like you said, it was crazy and they didn't keep the same quarterback. It was like musical chairs when it came to that position, but they did with what they had though, and it just ended up being a disaster at the end because I feel like when you give all those guys the reins, it's not going to work out, and it didn't. So yeah, I definitely get them a D plus.
I get them a C because I think they took the lemons and made the best lemonade they could, all things considered. You was out your number one quarterback, you was out your number one receiver for a good part of the season, and you still managed to almost make it to 500. Hey, what can you do? And then, of course, the team that definitely surprised me this season, Green Bay Packers.
I get them a B, man, because at first they came out real sluggish how they played, and they surprised me that they played so well at the end. And not only that, but they knocked off the Cowboys, so that's what really gave me a high grade on them. So yeah, I gave them a B. And Jordan Love is definitely going to be in a battle for this whole time. And he's definitely going to be one of those guys still fighting for that number one spot when it comes to them and the Lions. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting in what happened this year because a lot of those guys on their team was young draft picks, including Jordan Love. So, yeah, I want to see how they bounce back this next season.
Right. And like I said, just like they are young and up and coming team, so was the team that won that division, the team that almost made it to the Super Bowl this year. That would be our Lions, man. I gave them an A minus.
Yeah,
Only
me
give them
too.
minus because they didn't quite get where they needed to go, but definitely, definitely made the moves this year. Made me
I
proud.
gave them that because of that terrible defense, man. That well, the back end of the defense, they definitely got to get rid of Cam Sutton and get better personnel on the back end. They tried to do that this year, but I was scratching my head on Cam Sutton. Didn't really know too much about him anyway. But now I know, yeah, we'd be better off trying to get some guys through the draft or with the money we have because I think that we're seventh in salary cap. We need to focus on trying to get us at least a good
Yeah,
free
yeah,
agent.
Sutton, Mosley, Gardner, Webb. I'm not pressed to keep any of them.
No, none of them.
Tracy Walker,
They
you can throw him in the mix too. So yeah,
agreed because I don't
basically
think
at that point, I'm looking for some better linebacker help. I'm looking for some linebacker depth, and I'm definitely looking for new secondary. Anybody not
please
named Branch can go. Oh no, I
buy.
take that back. We got to keep Mofongo too. He definitely
Yeah,
stepped up.
because he definitely played good.
Absolutely, but yeah, I think the key for the Lions is to sign whatever offensive lineman that's in free agency with us. You need to sign him back so we have all that together. We could tweak a
Get that
little bit with
chemistry,
the offense, but not too much. Ain't too much need to be tweaked there. The key is to fix that defense. We can do that.
please.
I think next year we talking about them in the Super Bowl. As crazy as that sound in this day and age, imagine if you will the Lions in the Super Bowl. I can see it.
We damn near there, man. It's for the taking.
Absolutely. So there it is, y'all. In a nutshell, that is our breakdown of the season that was. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed that. Before we go to the finishing product here, I gotta ask you, as you know, there is a new football league, UFL, starts in March. We gonna be checking it out.
I'm gonna definitely check it out, man. Due to the fact to get the USFL and the XFL and merge them now, and now they're basically like the European league that used to be in the NFL. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing what's gonna happen there. So with them merging like that, it definitely makes it much more interesting, and I want to see what they're going to do on that end once they get this merger together and start to put the product on the field. See how that work out.
I'm interested to see what they incorporate from the two different leagues. I liked a lot of the nuanced technology that they was working with in both leagues. How they was having the people that was actually on the sidelines during the game and talking to people. How we got to hear some of the actual play calling and whatnot in the game. How we still had like the sky judge in the one league, and I kind of want to see how they incorporate a lot of that. And
Yeah.
in the end, what from that will they take to the NFL?
Hmm.
Not to mention, it looks like it's going to be a lot more coverage overall because pretty much every network that's not ABC is covering UFL, I believe. So, yeah, I believe it's CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, NFL Network. I think they all kind of incorporated in it. And I want to say even Amazon Prime. So, yeah, I definitely want to see how they play it all out and how it works for them. But that being said, we got to go. But before that, we got to have Hugh tell y'all how you can find him. Where can they find you, Hugh?
Yeah, man. I did a Guru Perspective on Spotify. I do that every Tuesday at 1 p.m. And then I'm Hoovy on Instagram, where I usually put most of my link tree, where you can find me at all my locations. Sports Guru to You is my new Facebook relaunch blog. And I'm Hugh.Lee6 on TikTok, where I do my reels on TikTok and I do my reels on Instagram if you want to see like the game highlights.
And keep in mind, people, we've been having some discussions here at the network. It's some adjustments that are going to be made. I think I will explain them a little further next week when I roll out a show for you guys. But we just feel the need to kind of change some stuff around. Life is lifing a little different these days. And because of that, and the fact that we have all this great new technology that we didn't have when we started the network, we kind of want to utilize it in a different way. So we'll definitely explain it to you guys as we go along. But in the meanwhile, keep in mind, I know football season is over, but don't worry, we ain't gonna not have Hugh. Hugh still gonna talk about some things. Matter of fact, Hugh, let them know what we're gonna be discussing now that football season's over.
We're gonna be discussing like a lot of things. We're gonna definitely start jumping into hot stove with the MLB, and for the most part, the NBA is in. We're gonna talk about that as well. And if I'm not mistaken, we're even gonna bring up some of the teams who over the trade deadline, some of the best picks in the grades.
Absolutely. And like I said, because there's always sports to be sporting on and talking about. And since there is, we will keep talking about it. Thank you, Hugh, as always. Thank you for your insights and all your good work throughout the season. We appreciate you. Can't wait till next football season to see what all happens. And in the meanwhile, of course, we'll be keeping up with the hot stove and all that good stuff. Until then, good people, we is about to head on out. This has been the Good Rules Football Perspective. I'm E Buck. That's Hugh Lee. Throw the fingers up, Hugh. We up out of y'all. All right, let's try it again. There you have it. That was the Guru's football session for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Of course, that ends the season, so we will have something slightly different moving forward, where he will talk, like you said, about basketball, football, hot stove league, baseball, etc., etc. As you know, today pretty much starts out the spring training module of the MLB, as catchers and pitchers reported to most of the teams today. So we'll have some talk about that in the weeks to come. All right, so we got All Star Weekend, and then of course, let me before we head on out for the evening give a special shout out to one Miss Caitlin Clark. Do we have Caitlin in the mix here? We apparently do not, but definitely wants to congratulate her ahead of time as she in this next game that she will play tomorrow for Iowa, and I do believe that will be televised. Check ESPN or maybe Big Ten Network, one of those two. She will become the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball history. She needs just 8 points to make that happen. If you've been watching Caitlin Clark at all this year, you know 8 points she can get like that, no problem at all. So I definitely see her doing that. Also, my good friends, keep in mind that she is just after that, maybe 140 points, I think it is, away from breaking the all-time record in college basketball, period, men's or women's. And considering it's still like a whole month of the season to go, I can see that happening. I could definitely see her breaking that. And of course, that does include tournament. So you add all that, I think it's almost a given that she will, when all is said and done, be the all-time scoring leader in the history of college basketball. Imagine that. But we'll talk about her and more in terms of college basketball next time on the Big Buck Sports Report. Again, prayers out to all the people in Kansas City and what happened there today. Damn shame. Anyway, prayers for you guys, prayers for all of y'all. Remember, as always, be blessed, don't stress, let the good Lord handle the rest. And we will catch y'all next time here on the network. This has been the Big Buck Sports Report. I'm your boy E Buck, and I'm out.